In this video, we're going to go over internet marketing and how it relates specifically to the mobile market. Now, it wasn't so long ago when everyone could barely be pried away from their desktop computers, but now you've got predictions saying that the mobile market is set to take over the desktop market by the end of 2014. Is this something you agree with? Well, let's take a look at the facts. Over 75% of the world's population has mobile phone access, and that's just getting bigger and bigger every single day. There are 4 billion mobile phones in use, and 1 billion of those are smartphones. So the other 3 billion are feature phones, but most of them are going to be becoming smartphones. Americans spend an average of an hour and 22 minutes per day using mobile devices. An hour and 22 minutes, and I bet you that just gets more and more each day as well. Mobile does look, of course, like it has the potential to take over desktop, at least in terms of hours being used. But does that mean you should now abandon your original digital marketing campaign and focus on mobile, right? Just focus on this fast rising mobile? No, of course not. It's something you should pay attention to, but you don't have to radically alter your plans. So let's talk about thinking mobile. There are obviously huge opportunities on mobile that you can't afford to miss. You can't ignore it. Definitely cannot ignore it. You have to pay attention to it. So here's a few different things that you can try for your own business. First, very simple start. Use something called a responsive website theme. Now, if you use WordPress, WordPress has hundreds, if not thousands, of responsive website themes. What that means is that the theme automatically adjusts to screen size. It also means that you don't have to create a separate mobile site. And of course, using a responsive theme means that you've got an understanding and that you're meeting the user on their level. So you're not forcing them to see your content how you want it to be seen. You're letting them see the content, your own content, but in a way that they are more likely to be able to use it. So let me show you an example of a responsive site. Okay, here we have our existing blog. So this is just a standard little blog post, but our blog is built on a responsive site. So you can see here, desktop version, what it looks like right now. And what we're going to do, and this is how you can tell if a site is responsive or not. Obviously, you could look it up on a mobile phone, but really, watch what happens when you take the window, and I'm just going to shrink it down slowly. Watch what happens here. So we're going to keep shrinking it. Okay, shrink it a little more. See that? It's already changed. So we already lost the sidebar. Right? So sidebar went away as it gets to this sort of screen size. Oops, let me scroll back up. There we go. So there's the sidebar gone away. You see the logo is a little bit bigger. So this is already showing what you might see like on a tablet. Okay. So there's our images, blog post is all there. It's just reorganized itself. And there's our sidebar at the bottom now. Okay. So it's reorganized ourselves for this smaller screen size. But what happens if we keep squeezing it? I'm just going to go all the way to as skinny as it gets. That is what it would look like on a smartphone. So that, again, how it automatically shrunk down the logo. It's got the image there. You can see this is how everything would lay itself out. All the links. And of course, way at the bottom, we'll have our sidebar. So along with our footer. So interesting how the responsive site automatically adjusts itself. It is a pretty cool deal. So that's a responsive WordPress theme. That's how you can tell if they're responsive or not, in that they change. So again, desktop view, responsive, and then somewhere in the middle, that's our tablet view. So that's a responsive theme. If you're not sure if your theme is responsive or not, just run it through this test. Just load it up in a regular desktop browser and shrink the window. And if it doesn't adjust itself automatically, then you know that it's not responsive. The second thing is that you want to consider consumers and not just a particular device. So you're understanding your consumer and how they're using the device, but you're not really concerned about the device itself. So what I mean by that is half of local searches, right? They're done on mobile devices. So you're out and about, you're maybe doing, maybe you're out and about downtown and you want to find a good restaurant. So you jump on Yelp and you're searching around, right? So Yelp has to concern themselves with the actual consumer and what they're doing at that moment and make their, in this case, app responsive to what the consumer is going through at that exact time. So that's why they put stuff like show me things that are nearby me, because then right away that makes Yelp that much more useful. I don't have to think, oh, I'm at the corner of 4th and whatever. I can just hit that button that says, yep, show me things around me that are restaurants and that are rated at 4 and above. And it instantly shows me everything, which is great. 80% of mobile users are using the devices while watching TV. So think about that. That could be something where if you're tying in with a particular TV show, right? You could sit there and maybe tweet out something about the show. People might be using Twitter, and that's a way that you can actually engage them in a conversation about a particular show. Maybe Game of Thrones is a very popular show going on right now. So you can engage them about Game of Thrones, and maybe you're doing some sale on something that relates to Game of Thrones. I don't know, but just as an idea. And nearly 100% of mobile users use it to connect to social networking sites. This is incredibly important, especially if you're doing paid media advertising, because you can get charged different rates based upon where you're advertising to. So if, for example, you're doing Facebook advertising, you will find that desktop ads might be more expensive than if you just did a campaign to mobile ads, because people are more likely to engage with you on mobile. And so Facebook's willing to cut you a deal on mobile clicks because they're just going to make more money because of the volume that's there. So that's just, again, something to kind of consider. And you'd want to introduce something via mobile that might make your brand stand out, but still cater to the customer's old media habits. And so what I mean by that is that Twitter example. So you maybe engage them over Game of Thrones, put a little hashtag Game of Thrones, or you can't believe what a certain character did, tying in with your audience, making them know that you're a real person or there's real people behind this particular company. I'll give you a perfect example. It's overused. It's really overused, but it's true. When the Super Bowl, a couple of years ago, the Super Bowl had a power outage, and Oreo was famous for one tweet, which is, I believe, I'm not exactly quoting, but I believe it was, "You can still dunk in the dark. You can still dunk in the dark." And it was all they did. And it just, everybody was like, oh my God. And people started talking about Oreo all the time. And what they did is they took something that was happening in real time, something that people were already involved in and experienced with in this old media, which was basically, in this case, the Super Bowl, right? They're sitting there watching the Super Bowl, and they tied it in with something new through people accessing it on their mobile devices, because that was the only thing that actually had power that people were checking. So there's an example of how to do that. When it comes to social media, you want to make sure that you're using it quite wisely, because people are spending so much time on social media. So right now it says about an hour and 22 minutes per day on mobile devices, right? We mentioned that earlier. That's probably getting, as of this recording, and then a month later, I'm sure it'll get more and more and more. 91% access social networks, right? So we all know they're paying attention on Facebook or Twitter. You might even be doing that while you're watching this video right now. You might even be watching this video on your mobile phone. These days, 79% of people have smartphones with them 22 hours a day. And the other 2 hours, I think they're probably just lying about. Those smartphones are near them every time. I mean, maybe you're charging it somewhere around that's not close by. But for the most people that I know, at least, keep smartphones around them all the time. So now you may know, of course, that just how entirely important social media is. But with mobile, again, this really comes down to advertising. You can selectively set up advertising campaigns that are specific to mobile and speaking with them as if they were walking around mobilely. It's like, for example, if you're a local shoe shop and you sell shoes, you can ping them right around when they're walking around. Hey, walking around downtown, how the soles of those feet look, and 20% off right now. Something like that. You can do all sorts of cool things when it comes to mobile. So it's things, again, that you want to keep in mind. You don't have to necessarily adjust your entire marketing strategy around it, but it is, if you haven't already, it's something to start considering, keeping on your radar, and start thinking about how you can take advantage of it. So right now, very simple marketing hack. If you're just starting out, type in your own website address to your phone, right? So probably if you're watching this, you've got a smartphone or access to a smartphone. Type in your website's address, see how it loads. Does it take a long, long time to load? Because you might be able to adjust images to make them a little bit smaller so it loads faster. Does it load properly? Remember how we looked at it on the responsive theme? Does it load properly? And you could twist your phone left and right to make sure, from a vertical perspective and a horizontal perspective, that it loads, right? Some portrait and landscape views. And is the text still readable? That's also important, especially something on emails. People check emails mostly through their phones nowadays. So when you send an email, I would definitely do that. Send an email to yourself and check it and see what it looks like on a mobile phone. And then making sure, of course, you can still easily navigate through your website on a mobile phone. Now, if there are parts of your website that aren't loading properly, if you have a responsive WordPress theme, that's always the best option. So if you've got a WordPress site, switch over to something responsive. And if not, then chat with your development team to see how you can address that. As always, if you've got any questions at all, just leave them in a comment below this particular video. And please visit us at seriouslysimplemarketing.com. Thanks again for watching this video. We'll see you on the next one.